What's happening everybody, King GPL here and welcome back to a brand new Goblet League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a fun and strong team in the Open Ultra League, and it's not the most expensive team. Pidgeot of course is pretty expensive, but it is obtainable. Of course they were spawning in the wild quite recently. We even had a Pidgey day and we had a Spotlight hour with Pidgey quite recently, so I think most of you probably have this, or at the very least are pretty close to having this maxed out, or you maybe have the chance to max it out. It is really well worth it in the Ultra League. Today I want to talk about a couple of things with the current state of the game. Let me know in the comments. We'll do a question of the day here. Do you like watching Go Battle League videos where it's all about the battles? Or do you like videos where the person actually talks about relevant things that are going on with the game as well? I personally do enjoy the community discussion side of things on YouTube. Of course you'll know that if you're in my Discord, like I'm in there all day basically, talking to everybody, so let me know for these videos, do you prefer just to see the battles, or do you want to hear some relevant talk about the game as well? I am going to touch on a couple of things here today, and I have a couple of things that I'm pretty unhappy about with Niantic. I don't really like complaining too much, so I don't do it that often, because I think you should try to focus on the more positive side of things, but I think there are some things that should be talked about, and I'm going to give you guys my straight up honest opinion on things, which I don't do very often. I generally try to keep it pretty lighthearted and positive. But first of all, we're going to hop into these battles a little bit first. Hit that like button guys if you haven't already, it's very much appreciated, and it really helps this channel grow. And speaking of growing the channel, we're, I don't even know how many subs we're on, bro, like we're just smashing goals left, right and centre. If you guys have not subscribed yet, quickly do so now if you do like these type of videos. I'm most likely going to be doing Open Ultra League all week. I might do a couple of Little Cup videos, but don't anticipate it, because I generally don't really like that league too much with Bronzor. But yeah, just a little bit of info on this team here. So, of course, it's Trevenant lead. Trevenant, it beats Giratina in the 1 shield, loses in the 2 shield. We've got an Umbreon lead in the second game, so pretty bad lead. Generally, we're safe swapping Pidgeot, because a lot of people no shield Pidgeot and you can just Brave Bird everything. I generally go for a lot of debuffs first and try to get shields off the opponent, but that is a consideration for you. And then we've got Walrein in the close. So if you think about what's strong against Trevenant here, it's going to be Giratina and the flying types like Pidgeot. The Trevenant Walrein core is as old as the day is long, so I'm sure you guys probably have a rough idea of how it works by now, but they cover each other's weaknesses very well. It's kind of like the sort of Swampert and Ninetales core that you've got in the Great League now a little bit. I actually would like to try that core in the Open Ultra League as well. I think it could be pretty fun. And of course Pidgeot's just a nice safe swap. You threaten basically everything except for steel types. Trevenant is your main steel type answer. You can Earthquake or Reggie potentially, but it can be a little bit difficult to get to those before they get to, of course, the Focus Blast or the Zap Cannon. You get to the Earthquake in 9, and they get to the Zap Cannon in, I believe, 16. So it's like 8 2-turn moves versus 9 2-turn moves on your side. So they always outpace you to it, and they can't just go for Focus Blast. So Trevenant is really just sort of your harder answer for steel types in this, and then you sort of play around everything else. It's sort of like an ABB style team, but it's not. It's more of a balanced team. But it sort of plays like an ABB style team in the sense where like Pidgeot and Walrein are sort of covering Trevenant's weaknesses in the back, and if possible you need Trevenant to cover their weaknesses too, because of course you'll have like steel types in the back which will do very well against your back too, so you kind of need to keep Trevenant alive where possible. By the way, I just want to mention, I was playing these battles at like 6 AM this morning and I shielded a Weather Ball off the Politoed, so you're going to see me make some misplays here. We had a pretty bad lead this game. We've got a triple evolution team. That's the amazing thing about Pidgeot right here. You know, that would have threatened a lot of damage anyway with the Feather Dance, but we get the double debuff on this thing, and even though this is super effective, we can eat another Leaf Blade at this point, and just go for an Icicle Spear to take out Leafeon. It's a really fun team by the opponent. They countered us on the lead there, and they had of course a Charmer in the back, which is not too comfortable, but we were obviously able to take that one easy enough. It's not like a super strong team they had. And now you're going to see Registeel in the lead. So basically we're going to farm up to 8 Shadow Claws. I actually only go to 7 this time. If you want to try and CMP the opponent, you farm up to 8 and then throw. As you can see here, yeah, they actually overfarmed slightly there as well. I think I might even, in later matches, you can eat 2 of those. The opponent swaps out, so this is amazing. So I'm like, thank you so much, bro. You're doing me a favor here. I think I swapped out late, so this could be the Earth Power. We can eat like 2 Earth Powers in this thing, well 1 plus Poison Jabs most likely. Yeah, so that's, I'm not going to quite take out the Nidoqueen, and we do outpace to the second Icicle Spear. I know this can only be a Poison Fang, sorry. So I let this one go, and I just go for the full farm down on this thing. Now we're going to go for an EQ, in comes Cresselia. Again, you see a lot of Cresselias in the back. I don't think I've seen a single Cresselia lead, so that's like another reason you need to keep Trevenant alive. I decided I wanted to keep alignment here, and I actually make sort of an interesting play. I know they're loaded on energy, so I come in and eat the Moonblast and everything on my Pidgeot, and we're just going to overfarm. I'm expecting them to potentially swap out. Another Moonblast does not threaten us yet, and yeah, in comes Reggie. This is kind of what I was expecting. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a Feather Dance, just nerf this down. That was unnecessary there, because it's pretty much in Shadow Ball range. Yeah, so like that was unnecessary. Maybe the Shadow Ball wouldn't have quite taken out, but I definitely would have got it out. Now this Cresselia has such low health, we don't even have to commit to Shadow Balls, they have to shield it. Because Shadow Claw damage plus a Seed Bomb will take this out. And this is looking like a good game here, we both have 2 shields each. And yeah, we just, like I said, don't even have to farm up, we can just keep going for these. So yeah, I really like this team. In general, like I said, just keep your Trevenant alive where possible. And you should be good. In terms of Walreins, you might see sometimes you get about a good lead and the opponent comes in with Walrein. What you basically want to do is catch the second Icicle Spear on your own Walrein. So you'll fire off 2 Seed Bombs, because you'll get to the move first, throw the move straight away to make sure that you're outpacing, and you're getting that extra turn of energy on your side, and then try to catch the second Icicle Spear. This game, you're going to see, actually it's literally right here, so like they're only just reaching 5 here now. So we fire off the first one, and I did try to catch the first one. The opponents don't always throw straight away on the first one, but they usually throw straight away on the second one. But this is absolutely fine here. We can go for a little bit of an overfarm and just fire off the Earthquake. And we're coming out of here with just a tiny little bit of residual energy, and we can threaten the Swampert. Now, maybe I should commit to the Earthquake here, but I was just thinking, you know, we'll get to the Earthquake in about the same time. But I sort of forgot that the Earthquake is 9 and then 8, I think, with Powder Snow. So I probably could have got to the Earthquake. The opponent makes a mistake and fires off a Hydro Cannon here. Will the second one take me out? It just about does, I think. And yeah, we can come in with Trevenant. They come in with invisible Pokemon. And I think this is pretty much a good point to start complaining about the game, because this has been happening to me for the last couple of days. The servers have been pretty terrible. For Cobalion here as well, Pidgeot is pretty good against it, but so is Trevenant, so you just want to try and take it out if possible. This can be a Stone Edge, which would do about 60% health, yeah, or 50% roughly. It gets you down to about half health, including the double kick. So again, I'll most likely shield this next one. They let that go, and we Shadow Claw down. So yeah, I just come straight out of here. And again, Charizard can be a little bit tricky for this team, but oftentimes, actually, the Charizards are a bit braver in the Ultra League. They're letting these Brave Birds go more often than not, and yeah, we're just going to Feather Dance and swap out. So anyway, yeah, like, I've been getting a ton of lag in this game recently. I've been getting just a ton of laggy bubbles, and like, you know, I'm using the same phone I was using months ago. I never had that issue before, up until the last couple of months, like the last season or so. Laggy bubbles, like getting frame starters and lags, like not being able to get my moves off, and I've seen it happening to my opponents as well. You know, I had a game yesterday where the opponent energy balls my Swampert with a spider, and I can't remember its name, Galvantula. They energy ball my Swampert and then they instantly disconnect. You know, so like there's these things that are just happening constantly, which are costing people wins and giving people losses. And then like more recently, the last couple of days, we're getting these invisible Pokemon, not able to swap your Pokemon out. This game is just in a complete shambles at the minute. It feels like they've like heavily downgraded their servers for PvP, because they're obviously making a loss in this game. I think their revenue is down to the lowest it's been in 5 years, and it's down like 40% in the last 2 months. Almost like half the revenue is being lost, and Niantic only have themselves to blame. They are completely making a mess of this game. They're not listening to the community. Of course, the whole Heroes Niantic thing. And like here's the thing. Sorry, I just need my desk there. Here's the thing. Like, I wasn't even a big remote raider, so like it doesn't even affect me that much. I live in Japan, and like if I make some sort of an effort, I can go out. Like, I'm healthy, and I can go out and do these things. That's not everybody though, and you know, they're just completely alienated. Like, you guys have heard this, bro. I don't need to go into this. Like, it's just a joke. You know what the joke is? The fact that they haven't even like acknowledged the existence of hundreds of thousands of people. I think that change.org thing that people were passing around has got over 100k signatures now. Heroes Niantic was trending for days and days and days. They completely ignore it. They're just releasing these new games, getting a ton of comments on their new games, which, by the way, to be honest with you, let's be real here, are going to fail, because Niantic, they're an absolute joke, guys. Like, they are an absolute joke. They got so lucky that they got Pokemon Go as an IP. If it wasn't for Pokemon, like, what was that other game they had before? Icarus? What was it called? I can't remember the name. Ingress, is that what it was called? That game, it's similar to Pokemon Go, and like, once again, like, I've reset my app and we've got an invisible Pokemon. Like, how are you supposed to do anything against this thing? Like, you can count moves with your own moves, but there were some matches where I couldn't even swap out. Like, is my switch timer up or not? Like, what is going on here? Now it's in the ground. What is going on with this game? Okay, it's Swampert now. The health bar's moved down. I'm looking up on the top right. At least the top right's still working. It's just a complete mess, guys. And I generally have noticed that the game has been super laggy. I would personally speculate that they've downgraded their servers, just to, because of course it does cost them money to run servers. That's what I would speculate. We're not even getting the guy in the end like jumping and celebrating the wins. It seems like every single update they're adding new bugs. It seems like every time they announce a new update, they make a mistake in the graphic. Like this Volcarona thing that we've got this week, I've done about 15 eggs, and I've not got one. I know Junkus has probably done like 100 at this point, and he maybe has got one at this point. But I mean, like, Junkus is probably one of the biggest grinders in the game. Like, of course, everybody here knows who that is, so I don't need to explain. But like, that guy literally has, whenever a new Pokemon comes out, he has the video out like 8 seconds after the Pokemon comes out. And he must have, I think he had like 7 million rare candy as well. But like, he's like one of the biggest grinders when it comes to like getting the new Pokemon, getting the content out. And you know, Niantic marketed this event as the introduction of Volcarona. They lock it behind eggs, which takes 400 candy to evolve. There's no wild spawns, you can't trade it to evolve. There's nothing, and do you know what's even funnier? Even if you do manage to get all that and you spend all your rare candies on it, do you know what the hilarious thing is? It's absolutely trash in PvP, just like every other Pokemon they've added for the last year. I've honestly got really sick of the Great League. I'm always a Great League player. Like, I don't like having to spend, you know, millions of Stardust to build a couple of Pokemon in these sort of higher leagues, and all of the XL candies. Even though they added more XL candies for in-person raiding, like, what difference does that make whenever you still need to get, what, like 500 normal candies to get the move and power the Pokemon up? Literally is not that much of a difference. It is definitely a bit better, but, you know, the balance between, like, the nerf of doubling the raid passes and, you know, limiting them to 5 a day, and then all of a sudden today, you know, we get all this word out that, oh hey, the community, or the profits are down 40%. They're literally almost halving their profits here, and suddenly they're putting raid passes, remote raid passes in the store for like a lower cost. Like, they're just absolute clowns over there, bro. They are absolute clowns. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that the Pokemon is so popular and the people have so much invested in their accounts and people love Pokemon so much, this company would go bankrupt, bro. They are just an absolute joke. Like, every single game that they release is a joke. Nobody plays it. Their communication's terrible. Like, us people out here making the money, playing their game, supporting what they're doing for years on ends. People have spent hundreds, like, some people have spent hundreds of thousands on their account over the years. You know, tens of thousands for a lot of people. They don't give a shit. They do not give a shit. They won't even as much as acknowledge your existence on this planet. That's how little they care. And it just really goes to shows with the updates. They never like proof check their updates for bugs. They obviously don't have a QA team over there because everything comes out buggy as hell. The GBL's been left to rot for the last year, like with the move updates. In my personal opinion, they're trying to keep the Great League and the game as RPS as possible. That's why they're not updating it and not adding new Pokemon, because they want people to have like roughly a 50% win rate. The more RPS it is, the better it is, right? Because I want you to consider this. The good players in this game, right? If you talk about legend players, like, you're talking about the top 1% of players here, right? A legend player, it has to be like a top 1% player. Can't be any more than that. It's probably like top 0.5%. Like, we're talking about a minuscule fraction of players. This is something I did not realize until I made content. Like, I'm not the most amazing player. I hit veteran for the first time last season, and like, I was only sort of getting into it about a year ago. I'm not the most amazing player by any stretch of the imagination here, right? But like, I did not realize, you know, whenever you watch YouTube videos, you get this sort of idea, like, it's kind of like Instagram, right? Where it's like, you see all these beautiful people everywhere, and it's like, oh, you know, everybody's so beautiful, and I'm not. You know, you look around. Don't ever have that mindset, by the way. It's a similar kind of concept, right? Where it's like, you see people doing this, and like, people always post their W's and stuff like that. So you think everybody's amazing at the game, and you're not. But one thing I realized is, like, there are a lot of players who are in a similar position to me. And that's the vast majority of players in Pokemon Go, and it's the exact same with any other video game you think of. You have Call of Duty, of course, where you get content creators dropping, you know, 100 plus kills and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, people think like, oh, you know, all these people are amazing at the game. But the vast majority of people are, you know, just average or play casually. And that's the market that Niantic is really trying to market to. You guys might think that, oh, you know, us hardcore players are spending all this money. Like, $1 from a million people is better than $10,000 from, you know, X amount of people, right? You know, like, that's kind of their thing. Like, it's an attrition thing. Attrition is better than, you know, having one good player who spends a lot of money. You're better off having millions of people who spend like a little bit of money, right? Because it's a lot more reliable, and it's a lot more consistent. You know, so that's really like their goal with this. Just to try and like squeeze the pennies out of the sort of casual players. You know, try to get them to spend a little bit here and there or whatever. As opposed to like trying to keep the hardcore players happy. But there has to be some sort of a balance where it's like, you know, like the people who are you know, creating content for the game and the people who do like play it all the time and do love the game and have spent thousands of dollars. Like, there has to be a little bit of respect there, and I'm just not seeing it at the moment. You know, like I said, I think they keep the game, you know, deliberately RPS for the Great League because that's the most popular league. I don't think they want to do move updates because it will actually require the game to have a little bit more skill, and if that's the case, it means that new players won't be able to RPS wins as easily. And like, I'm not saying that as a negative, because like I benefit as much, you know, I benefit from that too, right? You know, so that's not me like trying to take a dig at anybody who's not good at the game. Like, I'm not good at the game, alright? So like, don't take that the wrong way. That is just how it is though, and that is how these game companies work. They try to sort of balance everything to make sort of people who are not as good or don't put in as much time have somewhat of an experience. If you're the type of person who believes that the game has an algorithm, that would be the reason why. Like, if let's say for all intents and purposes, hypothetically in an imaginary world, there's an algorithm in Pokemon Go which matches you up against Pokemon that you're using and similar typings and typings that they're super effective against and that you're super effective against, that would be the reason why. It's not they're trying to target your account. You know, I've heard another content creator, which I like, by the way, you guys know who I'm talking about. I actually like him a lot. A lot of people give him a lot of hate. I don't agree with it. But you know, one thing that he says, which I really like heavily disagree with, and that's the thing, you can disagree with somebody and still like them. You know, that's what you know, having a balanced opinion is, and that's what being an adult is, honestly. You can disagree with somebody and then, you know, still get on with them. One thing I disagree is, like, you know, some people's accounts are playing on easy mode and my account is just blah blah blah. That's rubbish, honestly. I think if it is in the game, you know, it is for everybody, and it's to benefit new players. So I went on that sort of side tangent because I think that's the sort of reason, you know, if that's in the game, right? Because nobody really knows one way or the other. You know, some people will say it's definitely not in the game, you guys just need to get better, and that's 50% true. You know, the same people who hit legend every season do it every season, and the same people who are the best at the game, you know, have the best Pokemon and blah blah blah, right? So if you get better at the game, and even if there is an algorithm, you will overcome it and get legend. Like, that's just how it is. There's no if, buts, and maybes. It's like, if you go to the gym and go every day and improve, you will get fit. If you become better at this game, you will get legend. That is just how it is. That is how life works. Like, if you don't give up and if you keep getting better and try to improve what you're trying to improve on and be, you know, humble enough to learn your mistakes, like, that is just it, right? I think that's where my opinion differs from a lot of people, where I don't like to blame things that are out of my control for my ability to improve. Do you understand? So anyway, so we've went on a bit of a side tangent here, but long story short, I think that Niantic is keeping the game in an RPS state to try and benefit, you know, sort of like casual players, but it's at the detriment of the more sort of hardcore fan base. I think there needs to be some sort of a balance, and I think they need to do some move updates, especially this coming season. The season ends in 28 days, we've got no more Great League, and honestly, for the first time ever, I am so happy I don't have to play Great League again. It is awful, bro, with the amount of like RPS teams. There's a lot of teams in that league where, like, if you don't get alignment on a Bastiodon team, you insta-lose, or if you don't get alignment on Medicham, Noctowl, and Lantern, you pretty much insta-lose if you're using a particular Pokemon. I did not really experience that in the Great League. Like, there was some games where I was getting quote-unquote hard-countered in the lead, right? Like, sometimes you hard-counter the opponent, sometimes you get hard-countered, and when I was getting hard-countered, like, at no point did I think, oh, you know, I've just insta-lost. I do feel like that in the Great League quite a lot, and again, you know, that's giving power to things that are completely out of your control. And, you know, unfortunately, there's just some ways where there's just absolutely nothing you can do. And I hate that feeling where it's like, are you playing the game or is the game playing you? Do you know what I'm saying? You know, even if it's not algorithm, right? You know, let's just say, like, that just happens to be the team you run into. That's the problem with the Great League. You know, like, let's say, for example, if there is an algorithm, right? They're never going to change it. So, like, there's no point even thinking about it, to be honest. I do think about it, and it's a mistake to think about it because you just put yourself in a negative mindset. Don't even think about it. The thing that we need to focus on is the fact that the Great League is so RPS and the meta is so stale that, you know, if you play another league like the Ultra League, you know, even if you do get a bad lead and a bad swap, you can still win the match quite a lot if you play well. Whereas in, you know, like the Great League and some of the limited metas, it's, you know, next to impossible. It's not impossible. There's always a chance the opponent makes mistakes and everything, and you can capitalize on mistakes. But, you know, sometimes it is next to impossible if the opponent plays fairly well to overcome things. So, you know, that's just my sort of general thoughts on that. And I just think that's kind of the reason why Niantic are just doing terrible updates for PvP. Because they want to keep it RPS, and that allows people to get wins when they maybe otherwise couldn't get wins. It's the same thing in Call of Duty with skill-based matchmaking. That's just how these companies operate. So yeah, overall guys, Niantic are making a big mess of things. Like I said, I think it's the 2nd of June, we have the next season. They need to do some sweeping changes. Again, I was listening to Junkus' video at the beginning of the season, and he was pretty surprised by the sounds of things at the time, because he had maybe heard some rumours or something that a lot of updates were planned and just didn't go ahead. So one can only hope that they do push some more updates. You know, you can sort of make whatever argument you like about what Pokemon's overpowered. I think the Great League, a lot of Pokemon are just overpowered. A lot of people say buff all are Pokemon, but I think, you know, it gets to a point where it's like, you know, you can't match power with power all the time. I think you do have to sort of balance things down, because there just are a lot of outliers in my personal opinion. So it's easier to like nerf 1 or 2 things than buff, you know, 10, 20 other things. You know, so in terms of efficiency, I think, you know, just nerfing the Owl a little bit, you know, maybe instead of it having Shadow Ball, it can use Nightshade, which it already knows, or Psychic, and that way it can't defeat Steel types. Or, you know, maybe Lantern shouldn't be able to beat Galarian Stunfisk unless you do something specific with it. You know, like, there's these Pokemon that are just outliers. Maybe Medicham, you know, shouldn't be like 2-shotting a Noctowl, you know. I think there's definitely like at least 4 or 5 Pokemon there where you could say, like, if you just tweak them slightly, that would just give rise to a lot of other things. And, you know, that would bring back like safe swaps. I think that's the main difference between this last 2 seasons and the season prior, that things like Sableye and Trevenant's still okay, but things like Sableye and all of the other common safe swaps like Lickitung, Diggersby, even like Drapion and stuff to a certain extent, are just pretty much walled by the Owl. So you're pretty much in ABB land most of the time, where, like, you know, people have a lead and they're protecting it from Owl in the back, or they've got something that beats the Owl, and then they've got 2 things weak to the Owl in the back, you know, which it's just, you know, it's annoying. And then let's say they do nerf Owl, you know, what's the need for Bastiodon at that point? Because Owl's nerfed, so maybe fighters can come out a little bit more. If fighters are coming out more, like, what is the need for Bastiodon? It's not going to do well against those. I think Victory Bell could, I think in general, Razor Leaf needs to be turned into a free turn move. Shout out to KitKat, who's in Discord, who actually let me know that Razor Leaf is a 2-turn charm, basically. Charm's energy generation and damage are the same as Razor Leaf, except for it's a free turn move versus a 2-turn move. So anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Give this team a try, it's quite good. I did really enjoy the Ultra League today, and I will be making a little bit more content. I did gain some elo with this team, but I did have some, you know, definitely misplays of my own, and a few more difficult matchups. Definitely things like Obstagoon can be quite awkward for this team, so you definitely maybe even soft lose it with Trevenant in that case, and try to come in with Pidgeot if you do get that particular lead. But thank you everybody, have a fantastic rest of your day. Join the Discord, link in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions and everything I talked about today, and, you know, guys, we can just fingers crossed that Niantic finally hear us. You know, I'm not holding my breath, but hopefully, you know, they've got the picture at this point that their profits are down. Basically anything else that they release is just getting completely filled with hate comments and bad reviews in the App Store, and it's deterring, you know, the whole business perspective of their company. So maybe they'll actually realize that they're making a big mistake and start doing some relevant things. Thank you everybody, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time.